I'm joined by Oscar Davis, who's the procurement advisor for the RMA Group here in Thailand. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, my pleasure.
Well, your company is no stranger when it comes to disasters. Obviously, events that we don't want to happen, but unfortunately they do. Looking at maybe at some history of the company itself, how did it come together? You know, what made it all solidify?
Well, I think that the owners of the company were very involved in the aftermath of the problems in Cambodia, and that's where the organization really started 26 years ago. As it happens, I was working for Oxfam at the time, the other side of the border, within Cambodia, and they have actually tried to sort of create sustainability by moving in when the UN and the rest of when the disasters are no longer in the news, the RMA Group are there. So our business is business as unusual because we choose unusual places to have business in particular, not just in this part of the world, but also in Afghanistan, where we're quite big. And we try and create an infrastructure within the country so that it can then remain when everyone else has gone. So we train local people. Now, within Thailand, we've actually made sure that we have Thai people involved, and we have a very large number of staff, both in Nanchabang, where we prepare and we modify vehicles, and we do a lot of procurement here. But also, we use Thai people that go abroad and pass that knowledge in places like Afghanistan, in Africa, even in Haiti, we've got Thai people operating there. And in the United States, we have a sister company, GFS, that then handles all the work with the United Nations. But what we're very proud of now is that we feel that this part of the world is important to us. We want to create this disaster response, high-impact disaster response, so we're very well placed in Thailand to be able to respond to earthquakes, flooding, and even man-made disasters when there is a local conflict. And the beauty of it is that within Thailand we have the expertise, we have the young people that have qualified, that understand what these needs are in various parts of the world, and how better to do so than here from Thailand.
You mentioned a very good point about looking at the sustainability, and especially once it's not, you might say, newsworthy. Yes. How do you continue the relief efforts and also the development, as you mentioned, another important, making sure that whatever is done now will extend into the future, and so we don't have a repeat of that disaster. If we look at, for example, of the flooding that was in Thailand, obviously a huge effect, not only for our country itself, but for the region and for the world eventually. How do you, once it's out of the news, how do you continue the relief efforts to those people who have no voice?
Yes. Well, I think that at local level, at the local NGO level, we need to get more engagement with local NGOs. And this is something which is already happening here in Thailand, where we're talking to the different sort of communities that are very highly affected, and we're trying to find out how best they can actually prevent a future disaster. Or at least have a voice, have a platform, and as was mentioned many times, that you do have the Thai Red Cross, a national society supported by the government and by the royal family, and I think that's quite important because throughout the world the Red Crosses are key. They'll always be there, and they're very caring in the sense that they're sensitive to the requirements of the country. And that's something which we need to work closer with, and we need to sort of involve them in, as well as the local industry that can actually provide solutions.
I think, whenever you look at a natural disaster or man-made, as you mentioned, anywhere around the world, there's always such a huge response to it. There's always people willing and companies willing to help and wanting to help. But looking from the procurement and the logistics side, right. Again, looking maybe back here at our own flooding problems last year, it wasn't the fact that there wasn't enough people trying to help. It was that the help couldn't get to where it needed to go. Right. Or from a procurement side, how do you get those goods, those services which people need from A to B? Yes. And how does your company really overcome these obstacles?
Those are the challenges indeed, because you normally find that disasters occur in very strange places where either sort of because of the terrain, geographical situation, it's difficult to get to. And we've already got sort of already well-practiced ways of actually meeting the needs, and often, and recently we've been doing with supplying the problems that we're having in Syria, of trying to find the best way of actually getting particularly vehicles and other supplies into Syria, and we find the solutions. We normally work with local partners, at local level we find a way of actually getting materials through. And even within Thailand, when we had the flooding last year, we were already talking to some of the companies within the country that were already preparing for the worst, but luckily never came to happen.
Well, excellent. Well, speaking of being able to cooperate and partner with local companies, local businesses, looking forward to January and the ADA Forum, which will be here in Bangkok for the first time. Obviously, it seems like a natural fit, to come for RMA to join this event. Can you talk about your role within this?
So yes, I mean, in the sense that we are very happy to be part and parcel of this January event. I think that one of the examples, or a couple of examples I can give, is that I was quite surprised when there was, for instance, earthquake and tsunami in Japan, that why wasn't there enough aid going out for Thailand to support Japan? And equally, even last year in Burma, Myanmar, we had a situation where we should have been the first on the scene and not expect other faraway countries to be the providers. And this is something which we've learned over the years, and we're replicating. We're not learning again and inventing the wheel all over again. We're actually looking at situations and what's happened before and how we've resolved those situations. I was in this part of the world 30 years ago during the Cambodia operation, and I still remember the sort of problems we had then, and we want to avoid that happening again.
Well, looking at Thailand, I know earlier in the presentation they were looking, because Thailand is really a natural geographically and also in terms of our infrastructure, a great logistical base here.
Yes.
Can Thailand really serve as the hub for this region in terms of disaster relief and development?
Yes, I think it's ideal for that. I think that you have the land, you have the people, you have the educated people that can actually serve as a hub. And there are enough companies and the private sector that would be involved in sort of providing that sort of hub. And we're very close to many countries that traditionally have had natural disasters. And why look at other parts of the world when we've got it here? And I think that having a hub, having a center of excellence where one can provide aid, the first instance of aid, Bangkok in particular is ideally placed for that.
Oh, absolutely. Well, Oscar, thank you very much for joining us. We look very much forward to the conference coming up and looking to see more that RMA Group is not only doing here, as you mentioned, here in Thailand, but serving as a role model, being able to lead the way in the other countries in the region.
Thank you.
Thanks
Thanks
so
for
much.
your time. Thank you.
Good morning and welcome to Expat Travel Peak. I'm Josh Hyland, and today I'll be taking you to 3 amazing shrines and temples here in Bangkok. Having moved here some 7 years ago, first as an exchange student and then living here ever since pretty much, I've had the opportunity to see some amazing and beautiful temples and shrines all over Thailand. However, if you're in Bangkok, there's no need to leave the city. You can find some amazing sites like the one behind us here. This is the San Prapom Shrine, which is right in front of the Grand Hyatt Erawan and at the Ratchaprasong intersection here, like right in the heart of the city. This particular shrine is supposed to be useful for those people who have specific needs in their life or who are feeling perhaps a little bit distressed. Got to tell you, I'm feeling a little distressed myself, so let's go take a look.
The Erawan Shrine is actually a Hindu shrine in Bangkok that houses a statue of Praprom, the Thai representation of the Hindu creation god Brahma. A popular tourist attraction, it often features performances by resident Thai dance troupes, who are hired by worshippers in return for seeing their prayers at the shrine answered. The shrine is located by the Grand Hyatt Erawan Hotel at the Ratchaprasong intersection of Ratchadamri Road in Pathumwan district. The Erawan Shrine was built in 1956 as part of the government-owned Erawan Hotel to eliminate the bad karma believed caused by laying the foundations on the wrong date. The hotel's construction was delayed by a series of mishaps, including cost overruns, injuries to laborers, and the loss of a shipload of Italian marble intended for the building. Furthermore, the Ratchaprasong intersection had once been used to put criminals on public display. But nowadays, this corner location is famous for its godly favor. In addition to the many who go to seek the good fortune and make offerings, tourists can enjoy the many classical Thai dance performances and traditional Thai music. Even though it is a Hindu shrine, Thais embrace any icon or holiday that may bring them good luck. Trimurti refers to the trinity of Hindu gods consisting of Brahma the creator, Vishnu the sustainer, and Shiva the destroyer, the three most important gods in Hinduism. The deity is a gold statue of a human body with 2 heads and 4 arms. The heads are one on top of the other. The lower head has 4 faces. Built in 1989, the Trimurti shrine is on a raised platform, sheltered by a dome on 4 pillars with elaborately carved gables at the 4 sides. There's an open area around the shrine with a ring of seats for worshippers to sit and reflect. Crafted in classical Indian sculpture with a Thai touch, the statue is a replica of the original from Old Ayutthaya. Like other shrines in Bangkok, the Trimurti shrine was built to answer the prayers of people seeking success, prosperity, and happiness. The shrine somehow acquired the reputation of granting happiness in romance as well, as it's very popular with young Thais who associate the shrine with the god of love. Those seeking to fulfill their wishes in love use 9 red roses or a wreath of roses in one bunch and 9 red incense and 1 red candle. For those looking to have their prayers answered, the best time to pray is Thursday at 11:30 a.m., convinced that this is the time for the Trimurti shrine to be down to the earth, and also to receive grants to the applicant. Directly adjacent to the Trimurti stands another important Hindu shrine, this time for Ganesha, the son of Shiva and Parvati. Ganesha is considered a master of intellect and wisdom, and visitors here seek to be blessed with artistic success and accomplishment. The deity is one of the more recognizable, at least for non-Hindus, because of his elephant head, many arms, elements of serpents, and the big belly. His attendant is a mouse. Ganesha is often linked to the field of arts, but is, in fact, the destroyer of obstacles. Craftsmen would invoke Ganesha before embarking on a delicate process, like stone carving, hence the link with the arts. He is also believed to be the god of good fortune, and revered by businessmen who wish for success in their ventures.
So there you have it, folks. We've seen 3 amazing shrines today, and we've seen hundreds and hundreds of people coming looking for love, or perhaps looking for that promotion, praying to one of these gods that they get some health back into their life, or maybe find that extra bit of creativity. Well, I hope that after all the incense and marigolds and chanting and roses, that they finally find what they're looking for. As for me, I think I'm still looking. I might have to go and have a few more words, eh? That's about all we've got time for today, so the program will be back again tomorrow. Thanks very much. Goodbye.